Okay everyone, welcome back to another video on the channel again. Today we're back on GT Sport and we're back with the FIA Nations race at Laguna Seca in the Group 1 car. So this was a single make race in the Toyota Hybrid. Unfortunately I forgot to set up the Elgato capture utility before I went live. And yeah, I had to take this race from the replay. But yeah, you can see this was slot number 1 in the day. So very competitive. You can see all the big names from Gran Turismo in the grid at the moment. Qualifying, I didn't do any practice for this race, so we went in pretty much blind. I managed to get the strategy kind of from Fire, very gratefully received from him. Gave me the details of what, it was not to use the double stint, the soft basically. But how you do the tyres was totally up to yourself. I managed to do a solid lap. It wasn't particularly amazing, I'm going to be brutally honest. It was one of my first laps early on. I did have the potential to get a 107, which would have put me right in the top 4, I think. However, we managed to start P10, which in this lobby of very, very fast drivers was actually pretty good. We're starting right up there in the middle of the grid, basically just behind Josetti in front of us. I decided to go for a bit of a different strategy. So starting here, a lot of people would probably use the medium tyres. However, I decided to get rid of them hards straight away and hopefully put myself into some clean air when we come out the pit. So yeah, on the hard tyre from the start, I didn't know what tyres other people were going to go on in front of us. There was possibilities some people would be using a soft tyre, medium tyre, it was just random. I do love these races when you've got a lot of strategy involved with tyres that you can go on at the start. It's quite interesting to see which, sometimes it can really screw your race over, sometimes you can get it right. So let's see how we get along in this race. You can see someone going wide out of very early on in the first sector there, just about saved the car, as we're just trying to keep it nice and safe. Obviously the aim on this lap here is just get it into the pits, basically try and lose as little time as possible to the cars ahead, not knowing what tyres the cars were on in front as well. So yeah, you've got obviously Josetti in front of us. I predicted that Josetti might go with a strategy similar to myself anyway, because obviously I think he was a bit out of place on this grid starting in P9. He obviously has better pace as well, and this is what my thoughts were as well. Even though I hadn't done any race practice, I do like Group 1. Now the Toyota normally is not my favourite car in terms of Group 1, however around this track it was really nice to drive. It's almost like the setup was made for this track. It feels very drivable. So yeah, straight into the pits here. You can see that Quentin, myself, Josetti, Manuel Rodri behind us, SVDR, B-Racer, all going with the Devil's Soul, not B-Racer, all going with a very similar strategy. Fire just about staying out there. I think he started very far down, so he's decided to go one extra lap with the hard tyre possibly that he's on. I'm not too sure whether he's on hards or mediums or what. But out of the pits in P15 now. Only lost a few positions there because a lot of the cars behind us were on the same strategy. So it looks like I've made a very wise choice in starting on the medium tyre, on the hard tyre, and then getting rid of it, because otherwise we wouldn't have gained that many positions, because I think there was only 2 cars ahead of me that were on the hards, and we would have maybe been able to gain a little bit of time, but not too much if we were on the medium. So yeah, hard tyre choice at the moment looks like a solid choice. Now we're following behind Josetti. Josetti obviously going to have very good speed, so we don't really need to worry about getting held up by him. It's just about the cars in front. Will they pit? What are they going to do? So let's have a little look now. Is Fire going to go in the pits on this lap? It looks like he is. He was going for that extra lap on the hard tyres to probably free up having slightly better tyres towards the end of the race. We've got Quentin up ahead, who seems to be really flying ahead now. When I saw that, the fact that he was pulling away from Josetti quite strongly made me think that, like myself, obviously on the medium tyres on this stint, that Josetti must be on the mediums as well, and that Quentin possibly had gone on the softer compound tyre, because he was really pulling away at quite a rate there. As we go through this left hand corner, we can see though that Quentin there, I think up ahead, has had a bit of a moment, maybe got onto the curb on the exit and gone too far wide, and yeah, that's going to cost him quite dearly. So if he was on the soft tyres, then that is really going to be a problem, because he's now in them with a lot of traffic. We've got Manuel Rodri behind us. I think also possibly starting that had gone onto the medium time. Not too sure whether he'd gone on mediums or softs. Quite hard to work out as we now follow behind Josetti. Just trying to keep it consistent. Like I say, I didn't really have much practice, so I didn't want to push overly aggressive in this race. I just wanted to keep it consistent, drive and try and make as few mistakes as possible, and just try and do a little bit of fuel saving. I wasn't driving overly aggressive, because what you don't want to do is obviously refuel for too long in the pits. Now I wasn't sure if I was going to go with a strategy of filling up or trying to go with just short shifting all the way through the race, because I really wasn't sure whether you could. However, looking at the fuel and through the race, obviously you can't see that at the moment because I didn't record it from the Elgato, and I have to apologise for that mistake. But yeah, if you look at the fuel gauge, you can actually see that it's looking reasonable. We're coming to the end of lap 6, a quarter of the way through the race, and it looks like we've used just over a quarter of a tank of fuel. So yeah, it's clearly potential there to do a no stopper. You can see me doing a bit of short shifting with the medium tyres on. Josetti starting to pull away a little bit, but we're hanging in there. We're not losing too much time. We've only lost about half a second. You can see that he's now got the dirty air though to his teammate in front of him. This will be interesting as you see his teammate. I don't know if he ran wide out the corner or he just let him through. I'm not too sure. It's possible he just let him through there. So Josetti manages to get straight past his teammate there, and that's going to help him out. It's going to be a case of, can I manage to get past the other PR1 driver as soon as possible, because it's going to be very important not to get held up behind P11 for too long. We've got Quentin coming behind us, obviously, that was on the soft tyres, but he seemed to be gaining and then making a little error, gaining back up, making a little error, and just never really got right behind me while I was on the medium tyre. So I was actually quite happy, and I'd worked it out that he had to be on the soft tyres by how fast he kept gaining back up on us through the corners. So yeah, at this stage it's looking very good in terms of finishing ahead of the cars that are behind us, because they seem to have used, well, a lot of them have already used their softs or are on the softs at this stage as we now go through the corkscrew, trying to keep it nice and smooth through here and trying to get as close as to P11 as possible. Now the problem is, and the lucky thing for Josetti is that he obviously managed to get straight past that PR1 driver without being in that dirty air. We're in that dirty air. He's got a penalty though in front, so I tried to really push for it. So you're going to see, decided to try and use some fuel up to see if I could jump past him in the penalty zone. So maximum throttle down here, using up the hybrid, using up quite a bit of fuel as well to try and get as close as we can as we have. I think that's Antomics coming out of the pits there. That's going to be interesting where he comes out as I come through this left hand corner onto the pound nice and early. And what tyres is Antomics going to be on? Whatever tyres he's on, he's going to probably be a bit disappointed to come out right behind this battle. It looks like he's on the soft tyres where he went really a lot of grip through the corner. You can see again, look at the exit speed. So my prediction was again that he must be on the soft tyre, but he's got a penalty there. He obviously had a penalty before he pitted, so yeah, that's going to drop him back a little bit there. But unfortunately, I was not able to get ahead of the PR1 driver there as he took that penalty. It's a half a second penalty zone there. It kind of didn't lose you anything, maybe 3 tenths, 4 tenths, something like that, and I wasn't close enough. So again, we're really stuck in this dirty air. Group 1, known for the dirty air. This track as well, extremely difficult to get any sort of overtaking done on in Group 1 cars because they're so fast. They produce a lot of downforce, so when you're following another car as closely as we are, it's very hard to overtake. You see Antomics, even though he's on fresh softs versus my mediums, through the corners he's actually finding it quite hard. He's going to be able to get a very good exit though from this final corner going down the main straight at Laguna Seca. However, I'm getting that slipstream. Is he going to go for a dive on the inside? I'm going to have a little look up the inside of PR1, but I decide to just pretty much give Antomics the inside there. There's no point battling too much. I was hoping, the plan here was, we held him up for enough there, I think, Antomics, but now, instead of battling and losing time myself, I was hoping that Antomics might be able to scare P10 into a mistake or, you know, some sort of error that might give myself the opportunity to get past him as well. But you can really see how Josetti has gained a massive amount during this phase of the race. We were only about 1.8, 1.9 seconds behind Josetti when he overtook the other PR1 driver, but now because we've been caught up behind him, it looks like we've lost about 3 seconds to Josetti as Antomics there makes a little bit of a mistake but still manages to get through and hold that position to put himself up into P10, going through the corkscrew again. There's a moment there for P11. This is going to give us the opportunity to get very close, and this is where I had to really go for a move as Antomics. Another penalty there, picking up penalties left, right and centre there. But now we're going to have to try and get a nice solid exit from the final corner and see if we can go for a move down into turn 1 possibly. It's going to have to be a bit of a dive maybe. We've got Quentin right behind us that we have to be paying attention to on them softer tyres. So this is going to be interesting. On the replay camera, let's take a look now. We're going to go up the inside, try and throw up the inside. Can we manage to slow the car down? We managed to make the move, but then we run a bit wide, but this is going to give me very good hybrid exit off the corner. You can see we actually get our move done with the extra speed through the corner. And a nice move there, putting myself up ahead of the other PR1 driver, which is really important. I had to get that move made. I needed to get rid of that dirty air, and now we can get back on with our stint on the medium tyres and try not not to lose too much time. Unfortunately, you can see how far Rossetti is up there. You could just about make his car out in the distance there, so he's managed to really gain quite a bit of time for that. I think he actually gained about three and a half, maybe more seconds in terms of the time gained from when we were behind the other PR1 driver. So that little phase of a few laps there didn't quite work out perfectly for myself, but we did manage to get past him. Now we got Quentin behind on the soft tyres, although his soft tyres are starting to fade a bit. You can see he's getting a little bit of understeer on the exits of corners, and I've got to just try and concentrate on getting a good solid exit, which we do there. Got quite nice hybrid build up. What I was trying to do was doing a bit of lift and coasting, which seems to regenerate the hybrid quite well in the Toyota, because it regenerates the hybrid off throttle as well as braking. So when you're coasting through the corners and lifting into the braking zones, it did tend to build the hybrid up quite nicely. And I think the fuel saving method actually kind of helped with the Toyota, with what I was doing here. Although we wasn't going maximum fuel saving, as we see Rossetti pits in the pit lane with 48% fuel off of the medium, same for myself, and you see other drivers were on the softer compounder type. We see Quentin there with more fuel, obviously trying to do a bit of fuel saving while he was behind, stuck in traffic, but he's now got to go into the mediums. Now this was important. I decided I'm not going to refuel. We saw that Rossetti had about a 4-second lead. However, look how close he is in front of us now. So Rossetti must have put I think maybe 3 seconds worth of fuel in there to boost himself up to be able to push towards the end. I opted for a different strategy of not refueling because I could see the amount of cars behind me that had to go on the medium tyres, and I think this was vital that I did not refuel up, because now we're on the soft tyre and we've got no traffic behind us, no traffic in front of us. It's really going to slow us down. We've got Rossetti in front, but he's going to be clearly able to push. He must have put about 3 seconds worth of fuel on, so he's got the advantage of being able to rev that Toyota out and really push a lot more than myself. I'm going to have to go with a bit more of a fuel saving way. Although we had done 48% fuel saving on the first stint, half of the race, it's going to be probably possible to do that on the second half, especially on the soft tyres. We do not need to pit again, but look at this, it's really worked out for myself because I've got nice clean air. I can just run fuel saving laps and still be reasonably competitive in terms of lap time. I was probably about 6-7 tenths down on the ultimate lap if you're going to push like a 108.9 or a 108.8 in race conditions when you've got the fuel to push. You can see Rossetti gradually pushing away with the ability to use his fuel, but what you can also see is I'm ahead of all the traffic behind us, so that has really worked out for myself, being able to just keep it nice and smooth on the softer compounder tyre. We've got Matthew behind us. I think the gap was remaining quite solid to him. I think he was on a similar strategy to ourselves, and yeah, just trying to keep it nice and smooth to the end of this race. Now this is going to be very interesting. Obviously we're fast forwarding this action because there was not much going on. You can see the track in front of us. It was all about just keeping consistency, keeping the laps smooth, trying not to make errors. This was the vital thing with this race, was not to make an error. Keep it consistent, keep that fuel saving going. I'd actually done quite good fuel saving at this point. You can see that Rossetti has obviously pulled away into this. He's gained about 2 to 3 seconds there, or maybe more, from the pit stop phase, about 3.5 seconds, something like that. But he's now caught up another car, so this has actually worked out quite nicely because he's right behind another car. He's going to have dirty air as B-Racer, an error on that very tricky fast left-hand corner. That's going to bump us up another position now. So this is actually quite hard to work out. At this point of the race, I had no idea where I was. I knew that we were in a reasonably good position, but yeah, it's going to be hard to work out exactly where we are because you've had people on different strategies, people that still needed to use the hard tyres because they started on the medium, then went to softs. We've got all the tyres out of the way, we're on softs and we can go to the end. And my fuel is actually starting to look a little bit better because we have done quite good fuel saving for the first 4 or 5 laps on this soft stint. It's going to be a case that I can start revving out a little bit more. I'd worked it out looking at the fuel. I obviously can't rev out 100% and really push, which is what I would have loved to have done. But I think the correct decision was made in that strategy call not to refuel up in the pits and not put myself in traffic. Obviously, the one thing you don't want to be in at Laguna Seca in Group 1 is traffic, and especially with them being on the medium tyres, it would have destroyed my race, I think. I don't think I would have been able to find a way past. Even though you have the softer compound tyre, it is a very difficult track to overtake on. So yeah, at the moment everything's looking quite nice. It'll be interesting to see just whereabouts we come out. As we see, we've actually started to gain massively on Rossetti there as we're following behind him. He's losing out quite a bit behind in that dirty end. This is again proving the point of why I didn't want to put myself in traffic. You can see that as another car has made an error on the corkscrew there, people making a lot of mistakes in this race. So far, keeping it nice and clean and tidy with this fuel saving strategy, is really working out. We're up to P9. What position that actually is going to be interesting to see when we get through to the end of the race. But look at this, we're actually in the slipstream and in the dirty air of Rossetti now, as he's picking up the dirty air of P7, and that goes to show you why I think the strategy has worked out. Because even though if we would have put more fuel in, we'd have just got stuck behind other cars and wouldn't have been able to pass them. Rossetti clearly has a pace advantage over P7, but just can't do anything with it because of the nature of the track. Whether it's realistic, I'm not too sure. In real life, I know these cars will pick up dirtier, but I don't know how much. I think Rossetti's pace advantage with the fresher tyres, I think he's obviously got fresher soft tyres on at this stage, would have had a bit of an advantage. But let's just see as we push on now. On lap 21 of 24, quite a long race. I think it was around 26 minutes, something like that. As we watch the replay camera, you can really see just how close we're getting to Rossetti in front of us there. We're in that slipstream, we're in that dirty air, so we're going to have to be a little bit more cautious in the braking zones, not overdriving the car, trying to keep it nice and smooth, trying to make sure the tyres stay in with a nice range as well, because we did pit quite early to go on the soft tyres. However, like I say, we only had 48% fuel, so I was pretty confident that the soft tyres would be able to last to the end without much issue, because we're not going to be heavy on fuel, so they should be fine. So let's see now as we push over down the main straight, starting another lap, and still just about in that dirty air, just trying to maintain our cool really in this race, because I had no idea what the hell was going on with strategies. We didn't know what positions other people were in. We've got a lot of cars in front of us, which I believe some of them cars must still have to pit, because some of the cars that were in front of us actually weren't in front at the start of the race. I think they actually started behind, so they must be on a strategy where they're still not pitted. Obviously the pit lane loss at Laguna Seca was massive, and this is why it was so important to get the strategy right, because the pit lane loss I think was over 10 seconds, between 12, 13 seconds, something like that. I'm not 100% sure, but it was a big loss. So if you could get the strategy nailed, you could really bump up your places on the grid, as we see Rick there going in the pits from a soft set of tyres. Now I'm not too sure what's gone on there. He's now putting the let's have a little look now what tyres he's going to put on. He's out of the pits, and I think he actually put medium tyres on. I'm not too sure. Yeah, look, medium tyres there. So he must have gone on a double stint of softs and then gone one lap medium, one lap hard, which I don't think was the correct strategy really for this race. So he's clearly got to pit again, probably to use the hard tyres, because otherwise he would have gone on them then with only a few laps to go. So a strange strategy from Rick. I'm not too sure how that'll work out. I'm pretty sure the strongest strategy was to just do a longer stint on the medium, the longest one being your soft stint, and then just one lap on the hard tyre, which is the strategy that I myself and Rossetti in front are clearly going on. We don't have to pit. I'm up to P8, Rossetti's up to P7. This is a gain in positions from the start of the race. Now the really interesting thing is you see the leader into the pits from his strategy. He's just got to do one lap on the hards, and how many of these cars in front of us have to pit? This is going to be so interesting. We've got a big group of cars in front of us that possibly still have to pit, and with that massive pit lane loss, if any of them cars pit, we're going to gain a lot of positions here. So let's have a little look as we go through this right hand corner, and we see, look at that, pretty much all the field have to pit for another set of tyres. So this is insane. Although it says we're currently in P3, we're not actually in P3. It'll be interesting to see. I think you've got to work out from when the cars come out the pits as we go down the main straight, and there's no one coming out the pit lane. This is going to be incredible. We've got Rick there in P2, I think it is, putting the hard tyre on and coming out there just ahead of Rossetti. So that really shows you that I think that strategy didn't quite work out for him, but he's got away with it in P2 still. Will Rossetti be able to challenge him? I'm in P4, which I have to say I was absolutely amazed at in the live stream. I was quite shocked that we had come out there ahead of Antomic's era. I think they had some incidents. He got held up in traffic, picked himself up some penalties, and yeah, we've absolutely nailed the strategy, starting in P10 in this slot 1 of top split, the most competitive slot of the whole day, starting in P10. And we've managed to put ourselves up to P4 with no practice at all. Absolutely amazed that I've managed to do this. All I've got to do now is keep it clean through this section here. I wasn't trying to push, and I could see Rossetti pushing to try and get Rick. I just thought to myself, I'm just going to take it nice and safe. There's no point risking anything. We've got a solid gap to Atomics. I think it was a few seconds. All I've got to do now is go through to this final corner. The fuel's looking fine. I can push out of this final corner. We've got good hybrid regeneration there. Flat out now over the start finish line, and an amazing result. I genuinely couldn't believe that we had managed to get ourselves to P4, so really happy with that. The pace wasn't particularly amazing because I had to do the fuel saving. I think if I could have gone with a different strategy, if I would have been leading from the front, I could have really done some very, very good paces. You see, we managed to pick up a very nice 350 odd points there in our championship in the Nations, which has actually put us up to P21. With a few drivers that are not S-ranked drivers in front of us, I think we're actually P17. So a couple more good results in the Nations Championship, and we might be able to squeeze into that top 16, which would be incredible. I actually know that I'm pretty sure that we'd be able to do the top 16s in Nations anyway, because not everyone chooses to do them now with the position we're in. However, I probably won't do the next round because I'm not really keen on the combination for Nations. So yeah, I'll probably leave that one out and hope that we can still get in some of the top 16 races in the stage 3. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed that video. I thoroughly enjoyed that race. I got the strategy absolutely nailed. So if you did enjoy it, please take the time to hit that thumbs up. It really does help the channel out, helps us grow. And subscribe to the channel if you haven't already subscribed, and hit that notification button so you don't miss any future videos or live streams. Thanks again for watching, everyone. I'll be back soon, and take care. Bye now.